All right, welcome back to part two. Dak Prescott, we're taking a look at his interceptions. And just to give you guys a big picture look at what goes on in the 17 interceptions that Dak Prescott throws. Which ones are on Dak? Which ones aren't the best play calls and him trying to make a play? And which ones maybe on somebody else? A tipped ball, a receiver missing a throw and tipping it up in the air. There are a number of different things that go into the interceptions. And first, a quarterback isn't good or bad just based on the number of interceptions they throw. You've got to see it in totality. But even so, looking at their interceptions, I think tells you a lot about who a player is, what he needs to improve on. And so that's exactly why we're taking a look at these in study ball. All right. So this particular play, they're trying to get a double move, trying to get an out and up right here. Then off of that, they're going to run a hook, and they're going to run a shallow, checking back here. All right, so we're trying to get that double move. What am I looking at as a quarterback? This guy's backpedaling, backpedaling, backpedaling. So I'm off of that right now. From there, I think we're going to try to isolate this. I don't really like this particular play, but I think we're going to try to isolate that outside linebacker there. If he gets wide, I'm going to try to throw it back behind him. If he drops down, if he drops back, I'm going to try to throw it underneath him, okay? But they actually cover this really, really well right here. You got the backside guy jumping the shallow. They covered this up, and now this becomes one of those where Dak tries to get out of the pocket. Question is maybe, does he need to? Right there, right? He's got a pretty good pocket right there. Can he come back here? And again, I don't like it because they're squeezing this thing pretty good. Not a lot of great options here because these guys end up like stacking on top of each other, right? Can't have it. They're not at, the deeper guy isn't at a deep enough depth where if they stack, you could throw it up and over the top. So now one guy can cover two guys. Nothing for Dak. Now he's trying to make a play on the run. Bodies around him, trying to make a throw. And this is just a miss, right? Overthrow there on the move. Happens all the time. And then they just happen to be in the right spot to make the interception. Okay, here's one late in the game. Third down situation. Okay, trying to run the mesh. Okay, so trying to get man-to-man, get mesh here, create interference here, and try to get this shallow here if we don't have our running back in a one-on-one. So they cover it pretty well. He turns and runs. Okay, we're getting this mesh coming here, and we're going to try to get this shallow going. A little pressure from his right-hand side, so he slides. Boom. Slides, ball's tipped up in the air. So here's another one. Ball's tipped, and that tip leads to an interception. This time it's from his guy. So Dak does the right thing. He's sliding away from pressure, does a nice job, right? Good ball right there. Man, that's got to be a catch. Got to be a catch. Yeah, Dak threw 17 interceptions. Well, we've already seen a couple that are tipped at the line of scrimmage, tipped by his receiver, lead to interceptions. Stuff happens. And that's the game, right? Is that there's a lot of different scenarios that go into these interceptions. Sometimes trying too hard to make a play. Sometimes you're making a bad play worse. Sometimes it's a bad play call. Sometimes it's a bad decision. You're going to make bad decisions as a quarterback. It happens. But so far in this game, what we've seen 4 or 5 bad decisions by Dak. Okay, yes, they were all interceptions, but 4 or 5 bad decisions, not horrible. Okay, here's another one. Kind of a crazy scenario here. They're running a naked bootleg, right? This is what always happens on a bootleg. We get a flat, we get an over, we get a corner there, and Dak's got it. Okay, Sweat's right here, and he comes out, and he's got his flat here. He's thrown it to the right guy. It just doesn't get it quite high enough. Good play by a big defensive lineman to reach out and grab it. But, I'd like to see him turn his body and come downhill as opposed to fall away this direction, but it's easy to do on these short throws when you're running naked bootlegs, but gives you a little bit more control if you can attack your throw. But again, I don't know if this is going to be a bad throw. Probably going to be a good throw. It's just good play by a defensive end, and you just got to get a little bit of air. That's what we're looking at on a naked bootleg. If we've got a guy that doesn't bite and gets in our way, just pop it up over the top, out by the numbers best you can. But another good play, good decision by Dak, just not the best throw. And that's another thing that happens, right? Sometimes you make bad throws, right? Every throw doesn't go exactly where you want it to. There's so much technique involved in playing quarterback that sometimes your technique gets away from you and you make bad throws. It's just part of it, okay? So here's another one, the double seams. Boom, seam, seam, stop. All right, so when we get double seam like this, first thing we look at is the safety, okay? Do we feel like we've got an opportunity to 2-on-1 that middle safety? Okay, this safety's coming down high, so I like the decision that he says, okay, this guy's moving back, even though he's on the backside hash. Okay, if he's moving back towards the middle, I got a shot at this. If this guy gets depth, then I'm just going to recover out here to the stop. If this guy gets width, then I'm going to be ready to hit my seam right in there in the hole. The other way that you can look at this is you can see the pressure here and this guy coming down. I could easily come back out here and say, I'm just going to take the stop out there to the field because I got nobody that can get underneath it like I do at the top. So that's an option as well. But I don't mind the decision. He sees this safety running away. He's coming over to read this defender. Do I have the seam? Do I have the stop? He's got the seam here. Nice setup, good throw, hits his receiver in the numbers. Boom, ball's tipped up in the air, and we see another tipped interception for Dak Prescott. Okay, another tough one right here. So we got kind of like a pure progression play. So we got to go. We got 3 levels. We're going to run an out, a flat, and then we're going to come off of this, and we're going to bring guys into vision. So we're really just, the go is really not usually an option. So we're kind of reading the flat defender. 1, 1 here, 2, 3, and we'll just work back into our vision. Okay? And so we come out here to look at the flat or flat defender. This guy goes flying out to the flat. So now we're looking to throw this one right here. Now my biggest problem with this play is that the tight end gets jammed. I'm not sure what his depth is supposed to be, but he's not very deep on this play. And when you come out shallow, now this guy becomes a factor because I can't throw it over that guy. I've got to drive it and beat this guy with the throw. So that guy can technically play both the flat and this quick out here. Whereas if this guy pushed another 5 yards, now Dak has the possibility of throwing it up and over. But now I say I've got to jam this in. And again, maybe a little bit late because his receiver's jammed. So he's hitching a few times, but he's trying to drive it in this small little hole, right? That's the only window I have, is to have to drive that perfectly on time in that window. Otherwise, I've got to get off of it and try to come back here to one of these guys, even though there's not a lot of guys open. But as he has to jam that in there in that tight window, ball's a little bit behind him. Great play by Kevin Byard as well to jam the receiver and then undercut it right there and steal this thing. Although Dak's trying to do the best that he can of splitting these 2 defenders, you just see how hard it is because of the route technique, the route depth, being jammed, whatever happened. Probably should get off of this, but as you see, there's not a whole lot open back here, even if he gets off of it, but we don't know that as a quarterback, so we've got to make the best decision possible. This guy is in position to cover both of these, especially when this guy comes out short. Got to get back and got to get off of it instead of trying to force it into these tight windows against good players. Okay, broke this down before. This is a tough one. Okay, so we're going to run slant flat back here to the backside, and then we're going to run quick out, hook, hook to the front side. Okay, so what I'm looking for, if I'm looking at the bottom, I'm looking to see if this corner's off and I only have one underneath defender to that side. If I get that, then I have the opportunity to isolate him slant flat. But once I get 2 defenders over there, okay, so I've got 2 defenders down to that side, and I think they actually even rotate this safety down. But once I have 2 defenders low there, thinking it's like a cover 2, I'm probably off of this because they've got a guy waiting on both sides. But I'm also looking at the top. If I look at the top and I've got the corner off, I say to myself, I've got 3 underneath routes to the front, to the top side. And if I've got 3 underneath routes there and this corner is off, which he is, I've only got 2 underneath defenders. So my numbers advantage is 3 against 2 to the top. That's where I'm going with the football. Okay, so what am I looking at? First thing I'm looking at is I'm looking at the depth of this guy. Okay, that guy is 10 yards away from my quick out. Okay, I'm saying every time I get this, I'm throwing the quick out. Okay, I expect to throw the quick out. Okay, look at that. We've even got a 5-yard cushion right there as Dak is throwing this football. Now, it's a great job by the corner. Fuller does a great job of reading this and jumping this, okay? But this should be a completion, okay? Chase outside number, try to get to the outside shoulder of that corner. So once you get to the top of your route, you've got leverage on that corner. Okay, the biggest thing here, as we've seen a couple times, is not so much the decision, in my opinion. I like the decision. The problem is great play by the DB, but ball placement. This ball placement is back to the inside of his receiver, so the DB can cut this off and take this back for 6. Always throw these quick outs, and what do we say? We say these quick outs are to be thrown 2 to 3 yards from the sideline, so it's catch, tap, tap, maybe turn up the field, but tap, tap, and we're getting 6 yards. So this ball has got to be out here, away from this DB who's trying to jump it to where his receiver is going, and I think he's got a completion here, or worst case scenario, an incompletion, but not a pick 6. You see his receiver having to stop and turn back to the inside, and that's what leads to the interception. Not necessarily a bad decision, like where he's going, more a bad throw than anything. Here we are in the playoff game. Okay, playoff game. Okay, another one of these situations where we're going to run the guy down the middle. We're going to run these guys on stop routes. Okay, we get middle closed. Okay, so we get the look that we want. Right off the bat, to me, Dak should be going outside. Okay, once you get the middle closed, you're no longer looking down the middle. Get outside. Get outside to one of your guys and throw this on time. Okay, for some reason, he's looking down the middle of the field. Don't know why, right? There's bodies everywhere. One-on-one, one-on-one. Okay, the other thing that I look at, pre-snap. Okay, pre-snap, I want to look at the depth of these two guys. Okay, pretty much even. Doesn't matter which side you go to. Both of those guys are even in terms of depth. So that's not a tell. Just get out there. Get out there. This should be back one hitch at most, right there. Ball should be coming out to the stop, to the stop. He's eyeing down the middle, which makes him take a couple extra hitches. Now he's trying to throw it late. What's happening? This guy's already driving. This guy actually played it tighter anyways, and so because you're hitching twice, he's right in the hip pocket of that guy already because you're late on the throw. That ball needs to be getting there as he's getting out of his route. If you're going to throw it, if you get back there late and you see this relationship, dump it down. Dump it down, take your check down. Don't try to make the big play every time. I mean, you see it. I mean, he's so late on this throw that the DB's won by 4 yards because he's late. 1, 2, 3, 3 hitches on what should be a 1 hitch, if not a plant and throw. Being late against good defenses is going to go the other direction. Okay, so this is an interesting play. So we're going to run post, wheel, post, wheel, and then we've got some sort of choice here. I don't know what all the options are on this choice route, but what you teach a guy on this choice route is so important. So we used to run this, and when we would run this, I would primarily think to myself, because we would always tell our guy here that he was running more of a juke. So what I want you to do is I want you to cross the face of that Mike linebacker. You can hesitate for a second, and then you are thinking backside. Thinking coming out to the backside. Why? Because if I get this look, so it's a quarters look, I want to try to take 2 with the post. So I want the safety in the corner to take the post. And then this wheel has to be covered by this outside linebacker. So if he covers the wheel, now we're going to that open area to the backside. So I'm going to come out and look and make sure that this clears out here. Make sure I don't have anything backside, knowing that the primary thing this guy's going to do is cross face and come back to my side. Okay? Now, we would also give them the option. So if you go to cross face, so that means you've got to get past this Mike linebacker. You go to cross face, and this guy goes and cuts you off and plays you to the inside. Now you have the ability to get there, hesitate, and then you can bounce back out to the front side. Okay? But you need to get past him because these are the biggest worries on this play, right? So I've got to take care of one of them by making sure that he clears with the wheel. You, as a receiver, have to take care of the other one by getting in here far enough and holding your timing so that when I get to you and you bounce back outside, that you're not too far outside that this guy comes into play, because I can't read both sides as a quarterback. So however you teach this receiver to do it plays into what the quarterback is doing. So if you taught this receiver that his main option was to push up, and then bounce back this side, now as a quarterback, I'm going to read it out the front side, and I'm going to read this guy because I know that the primary responsibility is for that receiver to come back out. So I don't know which way they're taught here. But what I do know is that Dak, he looks left, but then he comes back and looks right. Okay, it's a great pass off by the 49ers. So good on the back end, they pass this off. So this guy still kind of stays free. But if we get across him and then we go here, there's a chance to fit that throw in right there. But his eyes are back to this side. That's key because he can't see this defender here. So if he's thinking that his receiver is going to come across this way, then he gets back to him and realizes, oh, he's read it. He got cut off and he's coming back to this side. I don't have a chance to fully verify this as I'm trying to get the ball out on time. So with that happening, CD, see what he does? He goes right to Fred Warner. He stops right here. Cross him, make him move, create more space from this side, or get across him. So now even if we throw it there, you've got leverage. Or if you come back this side, you have leverage. Here he stops right in front of him, and then he tries to bounce out, and it's a tight window, but we're not far enough away from this guy. Dak's not able to verify him because his eyes were backside, and another tipped interception. Let's go here to the end zone because you always got to watch the eyes of the quarterback. Okay, so here I want you to watch it. Okay, so he comes out, he peeks left. Okay, so maybe he's peeking to see if he's hot. Somebody comes here because they've got 5 guys out, but he peeks left, and then where do his eyes go? Eyes are back here. That's why I say to myself, and again, I don't know if this is Dak, I don't know if this is CD, I don't know how it's been taught, but if my eyes go back there, what am I doing? I'm trying to make sure this area is voided by covering the post and the wheel. So if CD crosses his face and then does the juke and comes back into my vision, I already know what's out in front of him. So he's looking that direction, doesn't have it, so he's coming back to CD. Now CD has decided to bounce back this way. I didn't have a chance because my eyes were on the other side to verify that defender on the front side. I'm just trusting CD. That guy comes off, boom, he's the one that tips it. Fred Warner makes the interception. All right, so there you have it. 17 interceptions by Dak Prescott last year. Variety of different things happening. Are some of them on Dak? Of course, some of them are on Dak. You know, interceptions are thrown, quarterbacks make mistakes. That's going to happen. Are all of them on Dak? Dak, absolutely not. A number of tipped interceptions that went off his receiver's hands. There were a number that weren't great play calls. Now, you don't have a great play call? Yeah, we could put that on Kellen Moore, the offensive staff, because part of it, that's part of the deal, is you've got to be able to create plays that give your quarterback options. You call plays in hopefully good situations that give your quarterback an opportunity to succeed. But you can't expect a coordinator to call the perfect play at all times. There are going to be times where the defense fools them, they go against the grain and do something they don't normally do, and you've got a bad play called. You can't try to make a bad play worse. You got a bad play call. You don't have a lot of options. Got to be a check down. Got to be a throwaway. You've got to make good decisions. And there were a number of times where they weren't the best play calls in terms of getting someone open against the coverage. And Dak tried to force it in there, leading to interceptions. So that's where I want to see Dak get better moving forward, is simply making the right decision in the moment. I like him being aggressive. He makes so many big plays down the field, but we've got to be judicious with the football, and we've got to make sure that when there's a bad play out there, when there's a play to be made, we got to be ready. We got to make that play. when there's a tough play and we know that the defense has the advantage based on leverage or based on the coverage that they roll to, we can't keep trying to force and hope we can make the perfect throw. That's when we got to be smart with the football, and that's where Dak has to improve this next year.